Baseball in Hornell.
Hornell professional baseball.
Professional baseball leagues were in Hornell 3 different times.
Documented staffed by paid players, the Hornell Baseball Club.
A letter to the editor on March 25, 1903. An edition of the Evening Tribune changed baseball in Hornell. It was submitted by Ernest Landgraf, a German immigrant who played several years of minor league ball before taking on managerial positions. Dear Sir, I beg to inform you of the fact that your city will once more be represented on the baseball diamond by a fast team. After due consideration, I have decided to locate you in your enterprising city the coming season with a fast professional team. A team will probably be formed to take in Hornellsville, Corning, Elmira, Penyan, and 2 other good towns, he notified.
The trials were held in the first games played in June. Teams from Penyan, Corning, Elmira, Addison, Castile, and Hornell would play almost daily throughout the summer. We were almost always at the bottom of the standings.
The minor leagues were the stepping stone for ball players to get to the major leagues, but you had to prove yourself. So you started off way down at the bottom of the ladder, and then you played in what was called the Pony League. That was the rookie league. And then if you were good, they promoted you to the next level. And then if you were good at that level, they promoted you to the next level, and hopefully someday you got to the major leagues.
This league continued through 1906 before disbanding.
Second try at professional baseball.
Hornell was the center point. It was the middle between New York City and Chicago. There were no airplanes in the 40s and 50s. So if you were going to go from New York City to Chicago, you had to take the train. And the baseball teams, they didn't fly on airplanes like they do today. They had to take the railroad. So Hornell was the center point. They had to stop here, and they would change engines and things like that. The people would get off the trains, and some of those players got off the trains back then, and they would play games here in Hornell with some of the local teams. Okay.
1914 to 1915 season. A team with major league affiliations was again located in the city as part of the Interstate League.
Babe Ruth, hero of the World Series, will arrive in Hornell tomorrow morning on the Erie train, number 7. According to the telegram received from him today, the Bambino is starting on a brief barnstorming trip with a picked team, and Hornell will be the first stop. It was in Hornell 2 years ago that the Babe was forced to disappoint hundreds of fans because of rain, and he was anxious to come back. If fair weather prevails tomorrow, the Barnstormers will be greeted by an immense crowd. Most of the stores have already agreed to close, and it's expected that the Erie shops will shut down in time to let the men see the game. The only fly in the ointment just now is the prediction of rain for tomorrow. Babe Ruth will visit Hornell again tomorrow. Tribune, 1923.
Babe Ruth, coming from Warren, PA, arrived here this morning on the 10:30 train and repaired immediately to the Hotel Sherwood. All morning, here was a big crowd at the Sherwood waiting to snatch a glimpse of the most famous men in America, and these individuals were not disappointed by the good-natured Ruth. Garbed in the brilliance of a big yellow ulster and cap to match, Ruth was a unmistakable figure as he entered the Sherwood. Crowds give Babe Ruth great invitation, and Babe grins and says he like this Old Town Tribune, 1923.
There's a story that was printed in the Evening Tribune many years ago about Babe Ruth never hit home runs or knocked the windows out of the old Irving School because in fact my grandfather struck Babe Ruth out all 3 times he got up to bat here in Hornell. Back in the old days, in the teens and 20s of the 20th century, major leaguers would barnstorm. After their season was over, the World Series was over, several players would go out and they'd ride the railroads, and Hornell was a big railroad town, and they'd ride the railroads and they'd come through town and they'd bring, there'd be a team of major leaguers, and they'd get together with some of the town teams, the best players that they had at the time in the town, and they'd play against them. Back at that time, Babe Ruth was the one time he came through, they got rained out. The next year he came through, they didn't get rained out, but he got in trouble. He wasn't supposed to play. They didn't end up playing because he ended up getting suspended and had to pay a fine, and so did all the other players. And then the next year, the third time he came through was when he was able to actually play, and he came up to bat 3 times, and my grandfather struck him out all 3 times. My grandfather was Don Kelly. He was a left-handed pitcher, and he struck him out, like I said, all 3 times. Now, back at that point, you guys all know how the high school is set up, that campus is set up. Back at that point, you know where the baseball field is and where the scoreboard is. That's where home plate was. Okay, and they used to hit out back towards the old Irving School. The old Irving School is go all the way to the other side of where the softball field is. In the corner of right field, on the corner of where the softball field is where the old Irving School was. So they used to say, it was rumored that he hit a home run and he knocked the windows out on that school. But like I said, that never happened.
Again, the Hornell team landed last almost every year.
Third attempt at professional baseball.
Baseball, minor league baseball at Hornell started in 1942. It went from 1942 to 1948. The Hornell was affiliated with a major league team called the Pittsburgh Pirates. Okay, do you know that? That's a major league team. In 1949, during the transition year, the club was then affiliated with the Boston Red Sox, who were the world champions last year. Okay? In 1950 to 1955, the team then was taken over by the Brooklyn Dodgers. So that's why the teams at Hornell, the college teams are called the Hornell Dodgers. They're associated with the Brooklyn Dodgers. So from 1950 to 1955, the team was associated with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Now in 1956, the Dodgers, they were struggling. So in 1956, the Cincinnati Redlegs took over. And in 1956, that was the last year of professional baseball in Hornell.
1941, the opportunity for professional baseball would arise again. Hornell was promised the team under one condition. The community had to raise $15,000 to equip a team and for a lighting system for Maple City Park so that night games could be played.
When Hornell entered the league, it was classified as a Class D club, along with Bradford, PA, Hamilton, Batavia, Jamestown, Lockport, Wellsville, and Olean. They were managed first by John Polk Wayland.
For the first time in a quarter of a century, they had a team again. The city supported its team. They had a parade, businesses closed, and marching bands played before Mayor Lee Dennison threw out the first pitch.
This time, these teams did a little better. They had winning seasons, but always lost in the first postseason round.
Pony League.
1942 through 1948, the Hornell Club was affiliated with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
1949 transitional year.
1950 through 1955, the team was affiliated with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Now, I want to share a little story with you in 1956, because now in 1956, I was 11 years old, right? Now, you guys are what, 12, 13, 12?
11.
11. Okay, so we're the same age. Okay, I was the same age as you. But in 1956, it cost 25 cents to get into the ballpark. We didn't have 25 cents. Now you're saying, you're got to be kidding me. I didn't have 25 cents. unless I had to scrounge it up looking on the sidewalk to find pennies. You know, you kids nowadays, if you see a penny on the sidewalk, would you pick it up? Tell the truth.
No.
Would you? No. In 1956, if we were walking down the street and we saw a penny, the six of us would die for that penny. We would actually go into, you know, the sewers, the gutters.
Ew.
Oh, wait a minute. All of a sudden you look down and you see something shiny. It was a nickel. Oh my God, we took the lid off to get the nickel. But no, when I say sewer, it was a drain sewer, like water. Okay. It was just a water, you know, like a water drain sewer. We go to get that nickel. Okay, that's how relatively poor we were, and everybody was in the same boat. So we didn't have a quarter to get into the ball games. So my friends, let's say we would go to the ballpark, and we would hear the people cheering, but we couldn't get into the ballpark. And oh gosh, we wanted to see that game so bad, but we couldn't get in the ballpark. So my friends and I, they were kind of ingenious, you know. They said, hey, let's go over into the fence. We'll stand on this cement block, and we can look into the stadium. But we couldn't all stand on there because it was only big enough for maybe one or two. All of a sudden, we realized that when they played the national anthem, nobody's attention was on the fence. The police officers who were guarding they were saluting. So we waited until they started playing the national anthem. We'd get up there, and one at a time we'd jump over the fence, and we'd sneak in, and we would get to see the ball game. But that's a little bit of this.
Impressive seasons in 1950, 51, 52, making championship series each year and capturing the title in 1951.
In 1950, attendance was an impressive 97,563. By the time baseball left at the end of 1956, it had fallen off to just 27,281.
1956 was affiliated with Cincinnati Redlegs. A failed fundraising drive at the end of the year would help spell the beginning of the end of professional baseball in
1963 minor league baseball restructured, eliminating Class D teams and closing the door on Hornell football.
I want to just share with you. Okay, now remember, I thought that they left Hornell because I was 11 years old because they didn't like Hornell. But then I finally realized that there was more to this game of baseball than just playing the game. Now, we think of it as a sport, right? Baseball, basketball, football, track, all those different things. They're good for young people to get involved in. But when you get to the professional levels, it then becomes a business. In 1949, where's Hornell? It was 85,000 people went to the ball game. Okay, now look at this. And now here's the last year of professional baseball in Hornell. What's that? 13,000. What year did World War II end?
1945.
1945. Everybody was coming home from the service. Everybody was looking for entertainment. Okay? Was there television in 1945?
No.
How about 46?
No.
How about 47?
No.
How about 48? How about 49? 50. 50 television was in its infancy stage. 51 starting to develop. I didn't have a television set in my house when I was growing up until 1952. So what did you do in the house? What did we do?
Read a book.
Pardon?
Read a book.
You read a book or you listened to the radio? That was a big thing. Listen to the radio. The Lone Ranger. Okay, and you'd listen, they would explain the stories on the radio, and boy, you just pay attention. But then all of a sudden the television came up. And the television, 52, 53, 54, 55, now the television set, people were staying home watching television, so they didn't go to the ball games as often.
1994. The NYS Collegiate Baseball League would receive the Hornell Dodgers with its wooden bat summer league.
Hornell has a great history for baseball. The Hornell Dodgers, which was a farm team, a single A team affiliate of the Brooklyn Dodgers, right up until Brooklyn moved to Los Angeles in 57, after that season in 1957. But they had the Brooklyn Dodgers, where my father was a bat boy for them in 1950 and 51. Preacher Rowe was a pitcher for the ended up being a pitcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers, won the World Series, was one of the guys who won the World Series in 1955, the only World Series that Brooklyn ever won. The Dodgers ever won while they were in Brooklyn, I should say. Also Maury Wills, which was a base stealer. He played in Hornell, and Don Zimmer played in Hornell.
Don Zimmer, two-time MLB All-Star and 1989 NL Manager of the Year, known for his prominent base running prowess. Stole home 10 times out of 63 total steals in 123 games while playing for the Hornell Dodgers.
Names for the star power that were on Hornell's team: Tommy Davis, 1956 three-time MLB All-Star, two-time NL batting title, 1962 to 1963.
Frankie Zach, 1942, MLB All-Star.
Maury Wills, 1951 through 1952, a seven-time MLB All-Star, 1962 NL Most Valuable Player. Had the most impressive Major League career of Hornell alumni, holding the Major League steals record at one time.
Thank you.